This is the best thing that could happen for a show like this, as we are a show that likes to talk about sports and politics and pop culture. And this one story kind of melded all those things together. Yo, welcome back. Thank you guys again for listening. We are now here after the USA has just lost to Belgium 4-1 in a game that it didn't really look like the USA was going to win. Really, after the opening score, the USA tied it at one point. They had chances to tie it again when it was 2-1, but ultimately, with Freeze, our goalie, having one of the biggest brain freezes I can even remember, coming out of the goal, conceding the third goal of the match, and Belgium tacked on towards the end. Um, a lot of controversy about this game heading into it with the red card. This is the best thing that could happen for a show like this, as we are a show that likes to talk about sports and politics and pop culture. And this one story kind of melded all those things together. The sad thing is that since this show comes out on Tuesday, we couldn't really talk about what was happening beforehand. But the great thing about this show, or what I like to talk about, is kind of what I just mentioned before with all of my worlds coming together, where you have a corrupt organization in FIFA meeting with a corrupt presidency of the US, melding well together and allowing, I would say, the best player on the USA's team, and we'll get to Christian Pulisic in a sec, Flo Balogun, to be able to play. Um, Ultimately, I think what this is actually leading to is no one actually seems like they have a problem with Flo Balogun actually playing in the game. I've watched a lot of people talk about this. I've seen a lot of different opinions, USA and non-USA opinions alike. And the basic sentiment is that no one actually thinks that this guy should not have been in the game that he just played in, right? The issue is the fact that basically FIFA looked like they got bribed in order to get a guy in the game, right? This never happened before in the World Cup. Even though this kind of did happen a little bit in the World Cup with Cristiano Ronaldo having a red card, and then his suspension essentially went away. We saw a similar play, essentially the same play with Lionel Messi, not get called on the field at all, not get called later on. And it's probably one of the weirdest things I ever heard. His suspension did not get overturned. His suspension just got suspended. I've never seen that before in my life, where you can have a suspension just be suspended. And so he's still going to get suspended. He's just, I guess, in a year time. And I didn't even know that Belgium had the right to appeal that. And so they appealed that. So, there was no idea whether or not this guy was going to play. Now, once Trump's hand got involved, it had to play. But I just want to go ahead and talk a little bit about Trump's involvement in sports. Going all the way back to the fact that he had the USFL back in the 1983 that folded because of bankruptcy. He attempted to buy the Buffalo Bills, but he was outbid by their current owner, Terry Pagula. He owned Trump Plaza back in the 80s, where he tried to have prize fights. He did have one prize fight with Mike Tyson that only lasted 91 seconds. He has tried to go into the UFC and has met up with WrestleMania. He went to a Knicks game in Game 3, a team that had a 13-game winning streak, and the only game they lost during that winning streak to get to the championship, they lost when he was in attendance. And now the USA men's team has lost because he got involved. Now, listen, I'm someone with a frontal cortex. I know that this man didn't actually cause them to lose. But for all of his supporters who lack that, this is part of the reason why you get the kind of crap that you're going to get now. So, unfortunately, USA has lost. And I think the previous episode that I had, I was speaking about the fever or the vibe that this country has for soccer. Because one thing that I know that this country loves is playing against another country, whether it's hockey, soccer, basketball, cricket, it don't really matter. If it's us versus them, I don't care how much you hate the president, you throwing on that red, white, and blue, and you going crazy, okay? And I think this obviously was galvanizing for the country for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the USA team thought that it had a chance to go pretty far in the tournament. it was being played in the United States. There's already a lot of soccer fans who live here already. And it's just a once in a lifetime moment. Like, I probably will not be alive the next time the USA will get the World Cup, in its own backyard. But I think the thing that I was saying about the USA team was what I said before is still kind of accurate. They were this close, I think, for getting people to actually believe that they could win the World Cup. Not saying they were going to win the World Cup. I definitely did not think they were going to win the World Cup this year. But having people believe in this group of guys, I think that, okay, maybe the next World Cup, maybe in the World Cup after that, they could actually go ahead and win one of these things. And I think that they just lost that today. I don't necessarily think that anyone actually believes that they can win the World Cup ever. And they just kind of stayed in a real neutral spot. It wasn't a disappointment. I would say they got out the group. They won a game outside the group. That was there for them. But they had a team in Belgium who a lot of people, had the USA winning. I mean, it was close, but the USA was essentially the betting favorite to win this game. And everyone was healthy for the most part. And they just got smacked, actually. Like, it wasn't even as close as I think a lot of people thought the game was going to be. And I think that ultimately kills any momentum that you have of new fans. I think that they are going to have to take a long time to rebuild back into a team that people can believe in. And the issue now with the USA is that they don't play any of these European powers typically outside of the World Cup, right? Typically, if they go to like CONCACAF or the Gold Cup, you're just playing teams really on your side of the country, right? Or your side of the world, rather, right? So you're playing Mexico, or you might be playing Canada, you might be playing Paraguay. Like, you're not playing Panama, right? Jamaica. You're not playing Belgium and England and France, and you're not playing those teams all the time for different schedule reasons, right? And if you are playing them, you're playing them in friendlies where it's like, all right, how serious are we taking these games? So, unfortunately, while I don't think that they took a giant step back and it's looked at as a failure, they are kind of stuck back in the place that the USA's team has been in forever, where it's like, they're good. They're good enough to get out of a group. They're good enough to win a game outside the group. But unfortunately, they just are not able to get over to that hump. And I think, honestly, the difference in that is what we saw over the weekend. Holland for Norway dominated, right? If you never watched soccer before and that was your only match that you ever watched, you now are forever going to be a fan of this guy, right? This isn't like Norway is some powerhouse country. This is the first time they've been back in the World Cup since 1998, you know? Like, this is very much their first time around, but they got that guy. And that's the biggest thing about a lot of times sports just comes down to, do you have that guy? France got a lot of guys, okay? But Mbappe, that guy. Argentina, Messi, that guy. Spain's got a lot of different guys. Like, Yamal's their best player, but they are very much like a defensive team. But we'll see how far they go. But again, they are just a team of world-class players, right? England, Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham. Like, we saw it in Mexico, right? Mexico was able, that was an incredible game. But until the USA finds their dude, this is kind of feels like what the result is always going to be for them. And this goes back to, ultimately, unfortunately, Christian Pulisic. I know this guy was hurt. If you watch the game, he didn't finish the game. He didn't finish multiple games. It'll probably come out that he had a calf or some knee injury. There was going to be something reported after the fact, because clearly he was not healthy. It didn't seem like at any real point, outside of when he got hurt early on in the Paraguay game. With that being said, I just don't think that this guy is going to be the guy that we think is as dominant of a player as I think people want him to be. I think he's very good from the soccer that I have taken in, but it's hard to foresee a guy being someone to step up to the moment. I mean, Flo took his whole style like in a couple of games, right? And I don't think, especially someone like me, was not very familiar with this man's game. I was very familiar with Christian Pulisic. I knew he played in the Premier League. I knew where he was playing beforehand, but Flo just kind of came on the scene and just popped. And it never really felt that Pulisic was either healthy enough or able to break away and actually make an impact for this club. He's still young enough. He'll be on the next World Cup. If I'm not mistaken, Pulisic is only like 23 years old. If I would a double check right now. Ooh, whew, buddy, I'm very wrong. He might be on the team. He is 27 years old. And the one thing at least I know about soccer is that you can definitely peak on your mid-20s. So he'll probably be on the next go around at 31 years old. But it was not, I think, the World Cup that I think he wanted. And I think a lot of people in the United States wanted for him to have. But they are now out. A lot of great games still to come. Brady talked about the England game, Cape Verde. Great match. Unfortunately, your boy did not watch. It's one of the things that is hard for me is the fact that you're like, oh, it's a Friday night. You should go out. And you end up going out. And then all of a sudden you hear, oh, the greatest game potentially in FIFA World Cup history happened while you were outside. Great. But shout out to them. Shout out to Argentina who advanced through. All right. We're going to take a quick break and talk about LeBron's free agency and where he might be going. All right. Back at it again. Pretty sure this podcast is going to come out before this decision is made, so we'll be good. But the last real major domino to fall as right now, because this is the one year we will not be watching Summer League. I used to be a Summer League king all the time because there was nothing on, but this summer will be very, 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 very different for that. But the last real domino we have to fall to see is where's LeBron James going to play? Rich Paul on his podcast Game Theory with Max Kellerman kind of broke down the different places that LeBron could have gone, was thinking about going. It confirmed a lot of speculation, at least that I had or anyone with half a brain had, is that if the New York Knicks did not win the championship, I think their first move would have been to try to get Giannis. And then if that happened or didn't happen, the second move would have then been to get LeBron James. Because they did win the championship, Giannis is gone, and LeBron is not going to the Knicks, as Rich Paul confirmed on Friday during his podcast. There's very interesting moves of like where LeBron can go, where a lot of things can happen. I've felt strongly enough that I think that Golden State makes the most sense. But if this is going to be his, obviously, whatever team this is going to be on, I'm pretty sure LeBron's done moving per se. I do not think LeBron is going to turn himself into a journeyman. So whatever team he goes to, I think this is going to be the last stop. And now there are reports that a documentary might be in the works. Don't really know if that's happening or not. But if all of that is true, that a documentary is in the works, obviously this is going to be his last team. The team he needs to go to is Cleveland. And Dan Le Batard made, I think, the best case for it to be Cleveland, and that is LeBron James signing with Cleveland is a win, even if he doesn't win, right? The Cavs are going to be good. They're going to be a good team. They're probably going to win anywhere between, if he's on the team, 50 to 55 games. If he's not on the team, they're still going to be very good. And they're going to be in the postseason. And while the team will have pressure on them, he won't, because he's already fulfilled his duties to that city. And only thing you can do now is just run the numbers up. You're not out there chasing anything. You're not really chasing any numbers. You're already the all-time leading scorer. You lead everything for the franchise. You are the best player in franchise history. It's not even close. You will more than likely forever be the best player in franchise history. And it's a storybook ending, right? I don't know if Bronny wants to come back. We'll see. This is also an older man. The one thing I know about people who get in their 40s and 50s, they do not like the cold. And so does he want to go back to a winter sport to play in a cold weather city? We'll see. But just as far as like an overall arc of his legacy, playing his most times in Cleveland, or it'll be the longest time in Cleveland, will be something that will be able to bookend things for him in such a way that it'll go out perfectly. How good the overall team will be, that remains to be seen. They'll be talented. Obviously, oddly, LeBron is still in this weird point in his career, rather, where he shouldn't be as good as he is at the age that he is. And so it's like, I think people who don't like LeBron are like, come off the bench or stop playing. But objectively, he's still very good. So not say have to, but like it makes a lot more sense for him to play and to start. And so wherever he goes, it's going to be an entire microscope is going to be on the team. And Donovan Mitchell, who was in Cleveland the whole time, is now going to have his team ripped away from him because LeBron's coming in. It can't be your team anymore, no matter how LeBron is, how advanced age LeBron is. Now, I would figure that Donovan Mitchell is still a better player than LeBron right now, but at the end of the day, like that doesn't matter. It's about vibes when you come into somewhere like Cleveland. So ultimately, we'll see where this goes. This is gonna be hilarious if he ends up going to like Dallas at the end of this fiasco or whatever this happens. But how LeBron wants to close this out, I think at this point is now going to be an interesting plane to land, because I don't think, because of the way he takes care of his body, his ability to shoot the three, he's almost at the point of basketball where like he really can't be bad at basketball. He's not a good defender anymore, but he can still put the ball in the hole. It's kind of the same thing with Messi. It's the thing that I don't know if anyone remembers, but Tom Brady spoke about how football got easier as he got older, right? How he talked about how, I believe in like his late 30s and late 40s, he talked about how the fact that he basically knew everything that was going to happen. It was just a matter of his body being able to react fast enough to whatever he wanted to do. That's still why this guy was, I'm pretty sure Brady finished like second in MVP the year he retired. Like he was still able to get it done. Now, physically, you can see it taking a toll on him, but he knew where to put the ball. He knew what he still had to do. That's still the thing with Messi. That's still happening with LeBron. Like these guys who are even at such an advanced age, they're still able to dominate so much because obviously they're able to take care of their bodies a lot longer. But two is like basketball, soccer, American football, they're not changing the rules so drastically to where these guys are ineffective to play. The game's going to be the game from now until most of us aren't walking this earth anymore. And if you're someone like LeBron James and you know like what you need to do, how to take care of your body and how to get through a regular season, he's just not going to be bad at any point. He's not going to go out like the players whose bodies have betrayed them and they are just looking like absolute shells of themselves at the end of their careers. But we'll see how the rest of, his career wants to go. All right, everyone. Thank you guys again so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, review, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. If you not do these things, I have to assume that you really thought that the MAGA touch was actually going to work in our favor this time. Again, this is the Men Who Cry podcast. See you guys again later in the week. Peace out.